and she was under the water. And then I just noticed she didn't come up for a little bit, and I looked down and she was just flailing. And at first I didn't know what was happening, so I was giggling at her. I thought she was playing with me, but then I saw the shock in her eyes, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, something's not right.
Welcome to another edition of the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast. I'm John Watts. Along with me today is Brad Cook, and we don't have any guests today, but we want to talk about National Water Safety Month. Did I get that right?
That is, and that's the month of May, and here it is, almost June. And I was reading through a trade publication yesterday, and it was dated May 25th. But they had this article about water safety, and I thought, man, we really need to talk about that because swimming pool season is upon us, and we need to get this one out. And I think you said you're going to get it out this Friday.
We're going to bump the other episodes and put this out so we're still during the National Water Safety Month,
right? And on the the beginning of the swim season, if we say one thing on here and it helps somebody to prevent a catastrophic event, then we will have done our job here. So getting it out, the sooner the better.
So one of the things, I guess I'll just kick us off here. There's a bunch of different water safety rules, kind of like firearm safety rules that if you just follow those, it really lessens the chance that you're going to have a water related accident, right? Whether it's and it's not specifically pools, but it's all water. So we'll get into that more in the podcast. But the one thing that I really wanted to start off with was the Katie Beth Law, I believe it's called. And in Tennessee, I guess we're all required to put an alarm on our pool.
And in Tennessee, and only in Tennessee, are we currently required to put an alarm on a swimming pool. And basically, like what you were saying when you were doing your research, it requires, like, if you drop a 15-pound object in a pool, the alarm will sound. And so in Tennessee, you have to mount that on, and it'll be inspected by the local electrical inspector. And the only way it passes is if you have that alarm on and functioning.
And it's retrofitted for commercial, but not necessarily private, because I've been in some pools that were like built in the 80s that don't have an alarm, but they have a fence and other safety measures.
Right. And it is basically I don't think they're asking people who had their pools built in the 80s or 90s. I think it's all on all new pools.
Right.
It has to be done that way. And I quite frankly don't like it. And you'll hear I said I'm going to wait to the end of this. But,
sure. No.
But anytime that you have a false sense of security, and then let's just say this alarm were to fail or the batteries were to be down on it, then, or out of frustration because it's getting false reads and setting off a lot, you turn it off,
right,
and then forget that it's on, then anything that gives you a false sense of security is I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, in Tennessee, and we build in Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas for the most part. We'll get in other states, but Tennessee is the only state that's currently required.
Yeah, Virginia had something. I think they have a law too, and I don't know all the law. I was just, whenever we were going over the National Water Safety Month and the guidelines and all this stuff for the podcast, I noticed there were some other states that do have some supplemental laws in there, like Virginia.
Well, I'll say this, and quite possibly Virginia does have different laws. We don't get over that way, but there is another law called the Virginia Graham-Baker Act. That required manufacturers of main drains to make anti-entrapment types of main drains. And whenever
that's her name. So
Virginia Graham-Baker is
with all respect, I guess what I did was whenever I was reading, I didn't know that it was I
Well,
thought that was the Virginia, and that so
Yeah.
maybe that was part of it. So I don't
Virginia-
know. I can't speak for Virginia. Don't hold me to any of this. We're learning together.
Well, Virginia Graham Baker lost her life due to entrapment in main drains. So, and after that act was, was put into law, again, the manufacturers had to make their main drain grates more concave, to where they made it harder for you to block off a main drain.
Okay.
It also required you to put 2 main drains in, or in a situation where, and I was at a motel pool up in Kentucky Sunday. A friend of mine owns a motel that's an older establishment, and the pool is extremely old, and they have allowed the suction relief valve that goes between the pump, goes in front of the pump. So if the one main drain gets blocked, then air is introduced into the line, and it's not,
Okay.
and it does not pull anymore. So it's a vacuum release.
Yeah, I saw that. Like the old drains used to pull like up to 350 pounds worth of pressure.
Oh,
like
right.
on the old, like so. Even someone my size would get stuck. I'm not that big, but stuck in a
Right.
drain,
So,
which I can't imagine trying to pull up that.
We've had local instances where that has happened in Dresden one time, and I'm not going to tell the graphic story, but
Oh yeah,
in Dresden one time at a golf course or country club, do not remember, but the kid was not supposed to be in the pool, but was, and they drained the kiddie pool every day. So it was a 4-inch, imagine a 4-inch drain line, just pulling water I don't know if it was gravity draining or if it was the pump draining, but kid sat on there, and kid lived, but there was it was scary and
So
kind of bad stuff.
and not to be completely morbid on the show, but safety is serious, and I know we cut up a lot here and have a lot of laughs, but we wanted to draw some attention to a lot of this. Some of the safety rules that I was looking, and I keep pointing at the screen here.
Right.
Supervise children, always watch children in or near water, never leave them unattended, which seems like common sense. But one of the things that stuck out to me, Brad, was I saw where they had timed a bunch of things, and they were like, even if if you're thinking about a bath, forget about a pool for a second, but think about a bath. Oh, doorbell rings. I got a package. You look down, you see your Ring, camera.
Right.
Oh, I got the UPS guy. I'll be right back, honey. In the 2 minutes that it takes, 2-3 minutes it takes, the child can slide underwater
In 6 inches of water or less.
Six. It just takes enough water to cover their mouth and nose, and they can drown.
I'll tell you this: I was putting a new liner in my pool, and what I'm going to say is around 1999, and I had the pool filling. The vacuum's on the liner. For anybody that knows how how to put in a liner, and there was about 2 feet of water in the shallow end. I guess I'm sorry, 2 feet of water in the deep end. Me and Case were out front. He was 2 or 3 years old. Didn't know how to swim. And I don't know what we were doing. He was watching me do something. And I looked around and he wasn't there. And so I immediately went to the pool, and his big brother, Hunter, when I got around to the pool, Hunter got to him first. And I don't really know to what extent, but he was down in the bottom of the pool. It took no time to so and I thought about it in time, but what if I hadn't, or what if Hunter hadn't got there and it would have been too late when I got there. You just cannot be too careful on this.
Yeah, and you see the images on even like the 5-gallon buckets of the toddler that just playing near a bucket of water or liquid of some sort, topples over, and they get stuck. They get stuck in the bucket and they can't get out, or they get stuck in a toilet and can't get out, which is, crazy.
Yeah. It can happen. It can happen on a lot less volume of water than a pool, But yeah, that is for sure. And so a lot of cities require, and a lot of insurance companies require, and it just depends on the insurance company and where you are, I honestly don't know what it depends on, but not everybody in the world is required to have a fence around their pool. And in some cases, I could see if you were an elderly couple and there wasn't a kid within any distance around you, lived out in the middle of nowhere, that I guess the odds are so low that the insurance companies wouldn't require you to do that. But
That's a good point. But
and then yeah,
I was just thinking, I live out in the country
right,
and I've got a small chain link fence, but if I didn't want a fence, I don't have kids anywhere near.
right.
I've got no kids, no neighborhood. It's just I'm out in the country. Why should I have to put up a fence?
Yeah, but you got to think exactly. But you also have to think. Okay, in a neighborhood, there's a lot of different things that we've seen. Now, one of the things that you got to have a fence. It's got to be some are a minimum of 4 feet, and I know that there's a code, there's a national code, and then there's typically some cities will uh, make it at least that or more, and so at least 4 feet of fence. And above ground pools, historically speaking, have been a fence to themselves. Just
Right.
it being above ground, that is the barrier. As long as you don't have an easy way to get in there. So if you have a ladder type
Right.
situation that can be locked in the upward position, but cities will also will require, some will, and when I say, I'm gonna back up and say, don't trust any of this stuff. But if it were me and my, at this point, grandchildren, which one of these days I'm going to have, there wouldn't be too many things you could do.
Right.
One thing that you can do is you can put an alarm on your back door, because the fence is great for the kids in the neighborhood to keep them out. But what's gonna let you know that your door went open? So some cities require that. But if you're concerned about that, if you've got kids of that age that cannot swim, then an alarm on the door is a good kind of reminder that, hey, the door just opened up. I got to see what's going on.
I'm glad you brought up kids that cannot swim, because that was number 2 on the learn to swim and take swim lessons. It can never be too early. They even have baby swim lessons for children to start to learn. That just increases,
Right.
their confidence and their ability to be around water, and your, you know, it'll make you feel better knowing that your child, at least you've given them. And don't
Have you
we
ever seen video of that?
of the babies?
They
Yeah.
put the baby under, and the baby naturally knows to hold its breath. I mean, it's one of the things that's kind of in our nature to do. And then you push the baby, and the baby starts kicking and going through the
Yeah, it's
the
awesome.
water. That's fascinating. And we don't have enough people in the world to train people how to do that. I mean, what's a 2-month-a-year job, and there's
Right.
a limited amount of people, I guess, that have that awareness.
Now, do we
But
have swim lessons at Aloha?
yeah, you know what? We spent most of the winter trying to get swim lessons in every location, and right now we have them in Union City. We'll have a girl out there, and she stays busy 4 or 5 days a week. Um, I think it was Jonesboro. We didn't get anybody, but we have contacts, and there's no shortage of places to learn to swim in Jonesboro. I think Marion was the same thing. I don't remember what the deal was with Cape.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you know how to teach swimming lessons, you're certified to teach swimming lessons. You can use our pools, no charge, to teach people how to swim.
There you go.
By
We
all means.
we encourage that.
That is the number one. That is the number one drowning prevention. I'll just go ahead and say it is for everybody in the family to know how to swim. And those who don't are locked out.
I'm Gen X, so I learned to swim, of course, by being thrown in the pool repeatedly,
Right.
and told to swim.
Right.
Screamed at. That's how it worked in our generation back then.
Yeah. When we were I was blessed with the opportunity to have a pool in my backyard when I was 3, and I don't know exactly. I don't remember learning how to swim, but I
Yeah,
think
I don't
took to
remember
it.
not being able to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't either, and I was always I was fortunate to have had that.
And
So
a lot of people might even sleep on this and think that, wow, everyone knows how to swim. But one of the things that stuck out in boot camp in the Marines, and you go
mhm.
through 13 weeks of training, and one whole week
You
is
got
swim week.
18-year-olds plus,
These are
right?
18-year-old
Right.
and above. These are adults.
Mhm.
And there is always a contingent of recruits who get held back because they don't know how to swim. They don't have
Right.
a public pool. Maybe they grew up
Sure.
and they never went, they were, they come from just different socioeconomic backgrounds, and they end up not being around a swimming pool
Right.
or a swimming hole, or whatever. And so they spend an extra week or two learning how to swim.
Okay, this is a tangent, but what would you say the percentage would be that you observed there? Was it just like a one-off, or was there a 5%, would you think, out of it?
Man, I would say it's even, 13, 15%,
Okay,
something like
yeah.
that of people.
That's fascinating.
So
Yeah.
like it's definitely something that surprised me. It's enough people that it surprised me.
So, and that was probably what, in the 90s when you did that, or 80s?
Yes, it was the late 90s. So the late 90s that I went to boot camp. Yes. Yes.
You just couldn't. You couldn't.
In the
stand it in
1900 year of our Lord 19-aught.
Yeah.
No, whatever.
You just don't want to be old. You just can't. You struggle with that.
I'll
Yeah.
never forget in my time after we went to Tun Tavern.
The reason I say that, though, is I just wonder if it's changed now, because pools are a lot more popular now than they've ever been. They seem to be less out of reach now than they've ever been. So
There's a
wonder if more
level to
people-
the swim, though. It's not like it's just hey, show us that you can swim.
Oh, yeah. Not that
We
you
have to
can
jump
survive.
in. Like, I think if there's like and these are all numbers that I, from the 90s, I'm trying to remember from that. But jump off a maybe 20-foot high dive platform into a deep end of pool with full gear. You have to be able to like dead man float for a certain amount of time. You have to swim in full gear, rifle and all, cross the, like, it's like an Olympic pool,
Yeah, okay.
there were a bunch of little tasks that you have to do.
I'll tell you, I was probably as good a swimmer because I grew up in a pool. But one time I went down to New Bern, Tennessee, to the what we call the rec center, of the public pool down there, and I got up on one of those. That's intimidating as hell. That high dive.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. I mean,
That ain't about swimming.
I
That's
could
about
do
heights.
I could do a gainer. I could do everything off a diving board. But when I got up there on that thing, I was like, man, I'm just going to probably try to hit the end of that board and then go into the water somehow or another, because that was scary. That would have to be part of it. But that had to be intimidating. And then if you don't swim very well, these Marines.
Oh,
they
imagine
they
that.
got to do that, and then I'm sure they didn't have to do a flip or anything fancy. They just had to get in the water from the high dive.
Oh, well, we would jump in full gear. You're wearing like, I think it was like 60, 80 pounds. I don't remember exactly.
Right.
And you would have to swim, I forget exactly. Again, someone out there is going to be taking, it's actually, actually it was 37 feet, not, whatever.
Right.
But if I recall correctly, I had to swim. And there's different levels. Like you get barely swim qualled. And I actually swim qualled at the highest level. And so I never had to, you usually have to qualify every year or a certain amount of times, depending on the level that you qualify in the Marines. And because I grew up with a swimming pool and swimming my entire childhood, I qualified at the highest level and never had to swim qual again during my time in the Marines, which was great. Which, was because I had a pool. I'm a good swimmer. As you can tell how buoyant I am. I look very buoyant. But
good.
Number 3, back to know your drains, teach your children to stay away from drains. And with that, I do want to bring, I said we didn't have a guest, but I want to bring one up. Tess!
Oh, that's right.
See if we can summon her. If we say her name 3 times. Tess, Tess, Tess. It's like Beetlejuice. There she is.
Yeah.
So grab your microphone and
All
you
right.
need headphones over there.
Yes.
This is your first time. Is this your first time on the podcast?
Yes, this is my first time on. I usually hear it going on from where I sit in the office, but
Tess
yeah,
helps
first time
John
on.
with all things marketing here
Adjust
at
your
Aloha.
microphone a little. She's just a graphic design and social media, not podcasting. So
Yeah. But yeah, Tess was telling John of a story when she heard us talking about safety and main drains and all. So it has a happy ending.
It does,
So
yes.
what happened?
So actually, I don't even know if Brad knows this. I have an identical twin sister.
I did not know.
First time it comes
her
up.
name's Tiffany.
So how do we know that it's you right now?
Well, she lives in North Carolina. She was
Okay.
here last week, so I kept joking with John that I was going to have her come into
Right?
the office and
No, I
see if
didn't
he
know that.
noticed.
Lovely.
Yes. So her name is Tiffany, and this story involves her. But it was in our grandmother's jacuzzi tub back when we were probably about 8 years old.
Yeah.
And we were playing around in there, probably not like we should have. And she was under the water. And then I just noticed she didn't come up for a little bit, and I looked down and she was just flailing. And at first I didn't know what was happening, so I was giggling at her. I thought she was playing with me, but then I saw the shock in her eyes, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, something's not right. And then I noticed that it was her hair was being sucked down the drain because she had been under the water. So I just grabbed like behind her head so it wouldn't pull at her scalp, and I pulled her hair out of the drain.
As an
Was
8-year-old.
Huh?
As an 8-year-old, you knew enough to support her head.
Yes, I was trying not to hurt her too badly because I knew that had to hurt getting her head tugged.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we joke about it sometimes, or she'll tell her friends, yeah, Tess saved my life, which I guess I maybe did.
Yeah, you did.
Which it kind of made up for the triplet that you absorbed in the womb. So you made up for that.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
we have another sister. She's 5 years younger than us. A lot of people say she looks like our triplet.
Oh, really?
Yes. But yeah,
it's uncanny how much you guys.
Yeah, we do look a lot alike.
For her not being a twin.
Yeah.
Oh, the younger sister.
No, I've seen on Facebook.
Okay.
And it's insane. Like how much her they're all three. They look like
Yes. Yeah. We just actually I just got back from a trip. My little sister's getting married, and I'll need to show you a picture so you can see my twin sister and Tabby and everything.
Well, it sounds like I don't need
here
to.
it is. Look.
Yeah, just look here.
Right.
Yeah, but it was a little thing I did, but it's I'm really glad I was there. It was a small thing to help her, but
sure.
obviously she was having trouble getting her hair out herself. So I'm just glad I was there in the jacuzzi tub with her.
Yeah, I was, and I asked you about that earlier before we went on here about the age of that tub, because most tubs nowadays have multiple suction fittings in there to lessen the likeliness or to eliminate the likeliness of anything like that happening. So, but at one point, with that. Well, that's just the reason. I mean, that's just the reason things evolve or change. The rules evolve and change about how to, how to put plumbing in a system like that because of something like that. Because I was telling you that I thought that the Katie Beth law was
spot
having to do with a hair entrapment in a hot tub, but and I think that would fall under Virginia Graham Baker for that. As a matter of fact,
it's actually. Part of the reason why I've gone bald is because for safety
reasons.
That's why.
I mean, maybe don't swim in a jacuzzi tub, but you probably would have been a little more safer than my
20
sister,
years ago,
whose hair was all the way down to her hips.
Oh goodness!
So
yeah. That
wow.
But and who know? Like parents or grandparents don't know to tell you not to do that.
Yeah.
My God, it's unfortunate, but fortunate that you were there. So yeah, and you also now she owes you forever.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
know.
anytime
I
you
can hold
need
it over
any
her.
favors like that.
Next time, yes.
I know you watch the old movies of Bing Crosby and not Danny Kaye, but the
Yeah, I remember Danny Kaye, but what, where are you going?
the guy, he saved his life, and because and he hurt his arm in the process in White Christmas.
Oh, you're talking about It's a Wonderful Life, and you're talking about how because George saved his brother Harry in the water and went deaf in one ear.
Yeah, well, but he didn't use it against. But I think it was Danny Kaye. I think it was Danny Kaye that would always, anytime he needed a favor out of him, he would start tugging at his arm. Because he hurt his arm when he was saving
That's
this
awesome.
guy's life. Yeah. Anyway,
I love the old Danny Kaye movies, but man, are we aging ourselves now? She's like, who?
Yeah, I'm trying my best to follow.
Tell us your favorite Danny Kaye movie, Tess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and don't worry about it. Well, you watched Christmas Vacation, where he goes in that rant.
Yeah.
And where Danny blanking K. Anyway, I thought this could be edited out.
No, leave it in, Lewis. We'll see.
Yeah.
And big shout out to Lewis from the Dominican Republic who works remotely as our video editor. Just do want to acknowledge him and thank you for your efforts on all this. We know that it must be excruciating to sit through some of these podcasts with Brad and I.
Oh my gosh.
But
Brad especially.
Yeah. But and I'm not gonna. Speaking of that, we're not gonna make you stay here if you want to get back to work.
Yeah,
get back
I can
to work.
Do that.
What are you doing, horsing
Happy to
around?
be on anytime you need me.
Awesome, thanks,
Thank
Tess.
you, Tess.
Yeah,
That's a good story. Wow.
Number 5 was install safety devices, barriers, covers, and alarms, and we've talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
One of the things about the pool alarms, I didn't even know that pool alarms existed before I started working here, and I think I asked somebody about that, and they said, yeah, most people turn them off,
and very likely so, especially that one that where the water impact to the water turns it on, because if a ball falls in or the wind blows a certain way, sometimes it seems like it is so sensitive that it will go off, and it's quite piercing. And however, there are some other types of alarm systems. There's one called a swam cam, and it's almost like it's a motion sensitive camera, and if I'm the camera, it sees all the way to the sides. So anytime anything comes into the frame, it gives you an alert on your phone, which is pretty neat. If the dog keeps running by it or something like that, it could be a nuisance. But in that, there again, that's kind of the boy that cried wolf type scenario. You don't want to not look at it because of that. But at least what is happening is it doesn't take falling into the pool to give you an alert.
Right.
And there's also one, I don't know if they still make it or not, but just say you have 4 corners on a rectangle pool. Right outside the pool, there's 4 almost like mirrored, or there's one object, there's one object here that shoots a beam that way and that way. So down the end and down the side, and then it reflects all the way around.
Okay.
And all of them have to connect.
So it's like when you walk into a store and you have that little doo-doo,
and
every time.
And anytime it breaks, it sounds an alarm. So that's one of those preemptive type of situations.
So if you wanted to, the only person that could break into your pool would be Catherine Zeta-Jones with a mister. Remember that movie where the laser grid, and she kind of did the dance to get through the lasers?
But if she can swim,
right, then who cares?
And if there's not a gym down in the bottom of the pool that you're trying to keep from being stolen, I think we're going to be all right.
I have a Ring camera. I think a cheap alternative, might be just having a Ring camera that has.
Can you get the motion sensitive?
Every time something
alarms you.
I actually, now with AI incorporated into it, it'll tell me there's a person walking through your yard, which is very creepy at 3 a.m. when you get woken up and you look down and you see a person, and then you hit the thing and it's a squirrel that just crawled down past the Ring camera. I have them surrounded my whole house, so and I see this little squirrel all the time.
Okay,
and it says it's a person, but at least it lets me know that there's an intruder of some sort, and I can pay attention to it.
But there again, back to the point is now you think, well, it's just that squirrel, and in
Right.
fact, no, it's
Yeah.
somebody
Turns
coming
out to be a skinwalker or something. Then I would be real disappointed.
That would be bad.
Instead
I guess if skinwalkers are bad.
Well, if you ever hear, you're actually not even supposed to say skinwalker. I don't want to get into a whole. That's a whole other podcast. We could do a cryptid podcast and all about the. Look at the way he's. Well, I might not ever be on another podcast after today.
Why don't
the
you
way
do that?
he's looking at me.
You let me know when that's over.
So yeah, we'll talk about that one. Maybe on Halloween we could do a spooky swim, and talk about all the crazy cryptids that live in Tennessee that could get into your pool.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if I'm still here in October. So number 6 was get certified, know how to perform CPR on children and adults.
Can we back up to number 5?
Oh, yep. Sorry. Go back to cover. We didn't mention covers.
Covers. To me, the best, and it's extremely expensive. And if we've, as salespeople, said it once, we've said it a million times.
You're so good at selling.
You can't put a price on a life. But automatic pool covers are extremely one of the safest things you can do. So we have one on our pool, and there's a keypad that you punch in the number, and then you got to hit the check mark, and then you can open your cover. And the same for closing it. But if somebody falls onto the cover, it will support not only them, but a family of them. A long
like
time
2,000 pounds, some of them, won't they?
Yeah, a long time ago when they first started marketing the automatic pool cover, the family that owned one of the first automatic pool cover companies got out on top of the cover and had their, it must have been 12 of them out there on top of the cover and had their picture made on top of it. And that's a very safe and a very good. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on automatic pool covers and all the things that it saves and all the benefits of that. But that's a good one. But in the wintertime, and I'm going to say probably in the 90s when we first started doing this, that safety covers was kind of a luxury item. And now I would say we probably do 80%. When somebody buys a new pool, on an in-ground pool, they get a safety cover. And basically what that is, it's spring-loaded. You can have it solid where it doesn't allow any UV in, or you can have it mesh. Pardon me. And either of them is safe. It just depends on if you prefer to have the pump on top of the pool or some sort of drainage on top of the pool. Or if you like in an area where you've got leaves and they just pummel your yard, then sometimes people prefer to go with the mesh because the leaves will fall and they won't get saturated by the little bit of water that's sitting on the cover, and the leaves will just blow off.
Right.
The pool is extremely tight, and it doesn't pool any water as it's mesh and it follows through. And there's pros and cons to that. Again, another podcast, but the springs will make it tight. However, you can get a solid or a mesh safety cover material, but if you have to go around a fountain and you have to cable it a certain way, the manufacturer will make the customer sign off saying, "I understand that this is no longer a safety cover." It's not that it won't hold up a body, because 90% of the pool will be spring loaded, but I guess there's some areas, the way that is designed, there's some areas
around like a fountain or a laminar or something,
or basically a raised fountain is the laminars are typically flush mounted,
right.
and so that's not a real problem. But that system is good, and even if you fell on the cover, even though it's got you wrote, you had to sign your name saying, "I understand this is not a safety cover," it still holds you up. I think they just have to have you sign off because there's a certification process for something to be a safety cover, and it kind of makes you feel good that it's somebody's regulating that. It's not some
right. They don't want that to fall back on them.
Yeah,
they want
exactly.
you're assuming a certain amount of risk if you're changing the design because of your custom pool build.
So we got covers. We've kind of dealt with the alarms. Making sure your gate is locked is a thing. And I've been to countless numbers of pools where they say, "Oh, that go around here, the gate's unlocked,"
Right.
and you know, I think that you need to watch that. You need to watch that, and like me, I need to get my automatic closure uh, fixed on it, because right now it's we have to lift and close the gate, and so it's spring loaded. Even the pool guy realized that. The pool guy does have a safety cover on his pool. So, oh, another thing, do you know that some areas, if you have a safety cover, you don't have to have a fence?
I have heard that actually. And is it by like city or
I,
state?
I think it's by city, or sometimes maybe even county, because we got in a little bit of a trouble. Salesperson did, saying, "Yep, buy this, and you won't have to buy the fence." And it turns out, in somewhere one of those counties outside of St. Louis, you had to have both. I mean, you had to have the fence regardless. You didn't have to have a safety cover, but if you had a safety cover, it didn't keep you from having to have a fence. So you check with your local municipalities, but it is recognized as a replacement for a fence in probably 90% of the United States.
But Tennessee would still require the pool alarm
regardless
of your fence.
Well, you know what? That's a good question, because that pool alarm sticks down in the pool.
Right.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, I think that you still, whenever I was reading up on this, I think that I recall you have to have at least have it installed. You know, it's not like they come out and inspect that you keep it running or you keep it, but like you had said before we started this,
I hate to say it, yeah, those things, that they are a nuisance, and if they don't, and if the batteries aren't charged in them, or the batteries somehow get removed, or if you're gone, and then you come back and it looks intact, but somebody was there swimming and removed the batteries. There's just all kinds of scenarios where that I don't have tons of faith in it. What I have faith in is, if you got your eye on your kid and your kid can swim, then there's a good chance that you're gonna get to keep your kid.
So the next one was know how to perform CPR on children and adults, get certified. And that's something that I think, you know, just being able to, it's something that you would like to know and hope to never have to use, than not know and wish that you had learned.
Yeah. And you know what? Guess who doesn't? Guess who has two thumbs and doesn't know how to do CPR?
You don't know how to do CPR?
This guy.
Really?
Except that, you know what I think of? I need to learn how to do CPR. But you know what I'm thinking of?
The Office. At first I was afraid.
I was petrified.
Okay. Yeah, that was a great clip.
So
it's actually definitely. Staying Alive.
Yes, that's right.
Staying alive. Yeah.
All right. Good. Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's even the same. I would say that I'm certified CPR.
Okay.
Because I've been through several classes years ago, and that would be a lie now, because I'm not currently. Like I it's been so many years since I've actually. It's one of those skills that you should probably, because I think like now they don't require the same amount of breaths, or they you know, like everything when we're old, we learn something from the 1990s.
Yeah.
And then you know, you go several years not having to do it and never updating because you do stuff that doesn't require it. I should revisit that.
We should revisit that as a company.
Have get certified in CPR and talk about it sometime on a podcast. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
and harvest the
what?
Never mind.
Harvest the it's not like you're going to say the organs.
Harvest the organs. You know that Dwight. Dwight.
Oh yeah.
It was really good. Okay. I think we could probably edit that one out.
No.
Oh my gosh.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll let you. We'll see. Because you know we got a time hack. We were gonna release this to Friday.
Right.
And but I did have one other story about water safety. My story that I don't tell a whole lot, but like Tess, it reminded me of the ocean. and undertow, which is a whole nother thing. Nobody, there's not undertow in pools. But when I was about 15, I was playing volleyball on a beach on a church trip, and there was a red flag, there was a tropical storm off the coast of Florida, and a woman and her 2 daughters got sucked out into the ocean, and a bunch of us took off swimming and trying to save them. There's like 3 or 4 of us, and we got to the 2 girls first on a raft, and it was like, yay, here we are. We're gonna pull them back into and they start pointing, and we look, and like another 100 meters out was their mom, who had been even further. And so as the other guys pulled them in, I swam out because I was the strongest swimmer of all of us, and I swam out to the mom, and I'm thinking, here we go. I'll save you. And then I get out there, and as soon as I get to her, she lets go of the raft and grabs me.
Oh, God.
And I remember thinking I was going to die that day because, I'm not a lifeguard. I'm just a strong swimmer. I can get to you, but trying to swim with you. And I remember standing on the bottom of the ocean floor as the waves would hit and trying to hold her up and thinking, this is how I'm going to go. And
you told me that story.
I managed to kind of swim, halfway, holding her up and stopping and breathing every so often until they had a lifeguard with a rope that got to us and pulled up. And then she jumped on with him. The whole beach pulled the rope with them, and I swam back in.
How nice of him to show up.
And I've never been so tired. I'm still tired from that swim.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me in the editor of one of the trade publications that I read about this month's awareness was from Hawaii, and she went on to say that I think it might have been in the 4th grade that everybody learned to swim.
Yeah,
like I think it was a state thing in the state of Hawaii. You grow up and go to school in Hawaii, you've got to learn how to swim, which I think is cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I wish that every state would do that. I mean, for one, it's a healthy sport. Somebody might, kind of fall in love with it. But the next thing is, it's safety. We've got a lot of lakes around here, and there's a lot of pools. There's a lot of opportunities. And one other thing I read, and I think it's a really good idea because I know it's happened. And I think that anybody, if you're having a pool party and you've got a lot of adults and a lot of kids out there and a lot going on, that if you hire a lifeguard for the party, because we've heard of tragic things happen in where there's a party, everybody's swimming.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that the one kid is struggling until it's too late.
And they said that kids don't typically call out or scream out. They're too busy trying to breathe. Right. So they're struggling. They're in the water, and you don't hear them. They said drowning is often silent. It's one of those things that if you don't know what you're looking at even or scanning, and everybody's probably on their phones, they got a couple of drinks in the backyard, something like that. It makes sense.
It happens right there in plain sight, and nobody sees it. And everybody's just involved doing not to fault anybody, because you think the kid knows how to swim, or maybe they got a little bit overwhelmed and or accidentally got into the deep water instead of the where the shallow water where they felt safe. And the next thing you know,
it just takes seconds.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah, so that is the thing. You said 20 seconds. Is that about the number?
I think that's something like that for them to
in as fast as 20 seconds.
Right.
I think that's probably would be accurate, because I think people struggle sometimes for a long period of time. Like the woman that you went out there, that she was struggling to stay alive, and you got her, and you got her. So
and just luckily, we happened to see that. And again, we had all ignored the flag. We shouldn't even been out there on the beach. We ignored safety by the red flag going that it was supposed to not be a swim day. Luckily, there was a lifeguard out there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's
a resort or whatever.
That's a real red flag there when you're.
Yes.
Now, you know what? I took your role on there. I'm sorry that.
No.
That, but
it's good. I'm glad we've covered a lot on swim safety. There's probably a lot we didn't cover.
And I think. if I could circle back to one key point in all of this, you can take the technology of the fence, you can take technology of the alarms, and but if the pool is open and your kid can't swim, you don't know where your kid is, that's the biggest thing to avoid is not knowing where your kid is at all times. And like we just touched on at the party, that's the big thing. You gotta keep your eye on your kid at all time until you feel very confident that they know how to swim.
Don't let all of this technology be a substitute for supervision.
That's it.
That's the key takeaway we hope that you get from this National Water Safety Month podcast.
And we're in the business of selling pools, and they are a world of fun for a world of people. But I would rather not sell another one if I knew that it was going to lead to something tragic. And so it's a tough subject to discuss, but I feel like it probably needed to be discussed.
Good to go. And with that, be safe out there. And it kind of goes in with what we say at the end. Well, first, like and subscribe, leave us comments, send us an email. I am john.watts@alohapoolsusa.com. If you've got an idea, you want to be on the podcast, hit me up with an email. But basically, we end it's very appropriate for this one.
Especially this one, right?
Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Aloha Pools and Spas Deep Dive Podcast, where we always end with dive safely.